to duplicate. Sometimes I like to work on stuff up there. Alright, slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines notes. So top part, we're classifying slopes. Like I say, you read slope from left to right. From left to right, if I'm looking at this first line, it's positive going up from left to right. Second line going down from left to right is negative. The third line here is horizontal, has zero slope. And you'll notice when you're solving for your slope too, if you're doing the formula, if you're solving, well, let's talk about that when we get there. I'm getting ahead of myself. And then vertical line, if it's going straight up and down, it's an undefined slope. Given a graph, you use rise over run to find your slope. Given the ordered pairs, you use the slope formula. This is lowercase m, not to be confused with capital M, which is midpoint. Lowercase m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All this is saying is the change in x over the change in y. Find your change in x over your change in y, then you'll find slope. And it's going to look, when we do it on the graph, it's going to look similar to what we did with Pythagorean, because it's pretty much the same. You find a change in x and a change in y, and that'll give you the slope of your line. Alright, so number one, we're going to use rise over run. First thing I need y'all to identify, so you make sure you're moving in the right direction, is your line positive, negative? Positive. So from left to right is moving up, positive, so you should know your slope is going to be positive. So that means you're going to do the rise over run. You rise first from point A to B. I'm going up 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went up 4 spaces to B, and you always run to the right. Over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So once you do that, you found your slope. My slope is m equals 4 over 5. 4 over 5 cannot be reduced, so I'm going to leave it like that. Number 2. This one says find the slope of line GH. If G is at 11, negative 3, H is at negative 6, 7. We're going to use slope formula. Label first x1, y1, x2, y2, and then put your stuff in the slope formula. M equals y2 first, so that's 7. Minus sign is already there. 7 minus, and then my y1 is negative 3. Over, and then negative 6 for my x2, minus my x1 is negative 11. I mean, my y2 is negative 11, excuse me. No, my x2 is negative x1. I'm tripping. Had a little drink this morning.
We know.
Alright. So 7 minus negative 3, y'all should know that's really plus. 7 minus negative 3 will be positive 10. On the bottom is 6 minus negative 11, so it's really saying 6 plus, negative 6 plus 11. You get positive 5. And then you need to reduce that. You could divide and get 2, but we're going to keep it in fraction form since it's a slope. Your slopes, unless you're writing it in an equation, it's best for you to keep them in fraction form. So 2 over 1, so m equals 2 over 1. Sliding back to the graph, number 3. This one, decide first if your line is positive or negative. Negative line, so you should have a negative slope when you give me your answer. The other thing that helps you determine is which way you move. On this one, this is not a rise for me. I know it says rise over run, but you don't always rise. Sometimes you fall. This time I'm dropping down. I'm falling. Can't rise. If I rise, I'm not even going to be on the line anymore. Since it's a negative slope, my first move should be a fall. And going down 1, 2, 3. That's negative 3. And then I'm going to the right, always to the right for your run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when I write this over here, my fall over my run is going to be m equals -3 over 6. Can't leave that like that. That needs to be simplified. M equals -1/2. Sliding on. 4, find the slope of line XY. X9, -4, Y9, 2. You don't even have to wait on me on this one. Go without me. I'll go with me. Exactly. Thank you, Nasir. This one is undefined. When your change in x, which is on the bottom, is 0, so when your number on the bottom becomes 0, it's undefined. If your change in y on the top is 0, then it's 0 slope. So we just showed you an undefined one. But if you ever get to a point when you get solving and you got a 0 on top, it's like 0 over 4 or something like that, then you got 0 slope. 0 on the bottom like this, if you're changing x is 0, you have an undefined slope. Alright, down here, parallel lines. That's something I gave you earlier. Parallel lines have the same slope. Slope will be identical. They have to. If they're parallel lines, they're running in the same direction. They have to have the same exact slope. That's what makes them parallel. Perpendicular lines have what we call opposite. The other word is going to be reciprocal. If you don't know how to spell it, it's down there on that next line. Reciprocal slopes. But instead of opposite, they use the word negative. You see it down there too. But I like to say opposite. Both of them mean the same thing. I like the word opposite better because y'all know to just change the sign. Sometimes when y'all see the word negative, y'all think everything becomes negative. But if something is already negative and I negate a negative number, what happens to it? I'm asking. If I got a negative number and I negate that, what happens to it? Yeah, it turns positive. Why is only one person telling me that? So I don't like using the word negative because y'all think everything's supposed to turn negative. That's not true. If it's already negative and you negate it, then you're turning it positive. Alright. So perpendicular lines is the one you have to remember. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. Show you what that looks like down here at the bottom. I'm showing you quick too, but you need to process this information. So if you haven't been paying attention, it's probably the most important part of this sheet. It's going to help you for tomorrow too. Negative reciprocal slopes. Number 5. Some examples. The first slope they give me is 3 over 4. So they basically want to get me to give a perpendicular slope. A perpendicular slope to 3 over 4 is going to be m equals -4 over 3. Number 6. My slope is 2. But if I was to write that, well, as a slope before I get ready to graph a line, it's really 2 over 1. So my whole numbers, I usually always put a 1 on them just so I know. That's the case. My negative reciprocal slope for that would be what? Huh? I think somebody said it. Negative 1/2. Jesus. That's my calculator?
Not one of those.
It's still my calculator.
Bye.
Number 7 is where people get mixed up at. That's why I don't like using the word negative reciprocal. I like saying opposite. Number 7 is negative 7 over 8. What's my negative reciprocal slope going to be? Positive 8 over 7. Good. That means you know. Alright. So, I hope you just processed a couple things I just told you. On the front right there, I just told you parallel lines have the same slope, same exact slope. Parallel lines have negative reciprocal slopes or opposite reciprocal slopes. If they don't have either one of those, then the lines are neither. Up here for number 8 and 9, what we're about to do, it says use the slope to determine if the lines AB and CD are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. If it's neither, then it is, you can't tell that it's parallel or perpendicular. Should be obvious to you once we finish. Moving fast. Here we go. We're going to find the slopes. So AB is a line, CD is a line. So I'm doing slope formula twice. Labeling A and B, X1, Y1, X2, Y2. And then I'm going to find slope. M equals 6 minus 3 over 2 minus negative 2. I did that kind of, I don't know why I drew my little line so sloppy right there, but whatever. 3 over 4. That's my first slope. Go in and find your second one. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Oh, M equals 3 minus negative, oh no. 3 minus 0, tripping. On the bottom, 3 minus negative 1. There we go. On top you get 3. Bottom you get 3 minus negative 1, which is 4. And then all we asking you to do after that, compare slopes. 3 over 4 and 3 over 4. What type of line is this, Maurice? Based on the slopes of the two lines. This ain't no trick question, dog. Type of line. Don't worry, Juan got your back. Go ahead, Juan, because he's taking too long. These are parallel lines. Oh. I said Maurice. It's all good. Thank you. The next one, same situation. You ain't gotta wait on me. Label us all. So you got 4 minus 2, 5 minus 0, 2 over 5. You got M equals X1, 3 minus 8. And on the bottom, 3 minus 1. 3 minus 8, that'll give you negative 5. Bottom, 3 minus 1, 2. Yeah. Yeah, these lines are perpendicular based on their slopes. Yeah. Not a spell. Yeah. Alright. Using some more algebra stuff. This is all pretty much algebra for y'all, so this should be familiar. Equations of lines. Now here it says most linear equations are written in slope-intercept form or standard form. You're going to see them in both. You need to know how to move back and forth between the two. Slope-intercept form. Y'all should remember this from algebra. Mike, what's slope-intercept form? Go ahead and spit that out, man. Should be on the tip. Go ahead, what? I doubted you, too. I'm sorry. Well, shout out to D'Angelico. Y equals MX plus B. Mike, I'm not done with you, though, dog. M is... What's M? In the equation, yeah. M is the slope.
Why do you feel this
The B. Oh yeah, y-intercept. Alright, Mike. So, you got slope-intercept form, where your slope is M, B is your y-intercept. Down here, it says given the graph, write the equation in slope-intercept form. So you got a line on the graph, we want to write the equation of this line. To write the equation of this line, we need two things. We need M and B. I always get B first, that's just me. Mike, I'm feeling confident, bro. What's your B? What's your y-intercept for this number 10?
Come on, I don't see that here. Let me see. Oh
No, just want to know the y-intercept. You know what the y-intercept is. You knew it. You know what to say, but do you know what it is? Let me ask you that question. It's in the word. It's where the y-intercept. Yeah, where your line intercepts the y-axis. Oh man, you can't count. Alright, so you got your y-intercept at -3. Then after that you need to find slope. For the slope we counting. It's a positive line, so we're going up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over 1, 2. 4/2, but you can't give me 4/2. No. 2/1. Alright. And now I'm ready to write my equation. Equation is y equals what? Huh? 2/1. Yeah. So if you're about to say plus negative, which and honestly we let y'all write that too. Because it's not wrong, essentially. But there's no reason to write plus negative. You know, if you got a minus sign there, you can just write -3. Or if you got a negative sign on your intercept. But if you write plus negative, we won't mark you wrong. Yeah, I'm about to write it again. And we take it this way as well, or we'll take it like this. Y equals 2x minus 3. Either one will be fine. Number 11. Intercept first. Ryan, where's my y-intercept? 0. Ryan, is my line positive or negative? Alright, so for my slope, my first move should be down. Down how many? 1. So that's a -1. And then to the right, how many? 1, 2, 3. So my slope is what? -1/3. And then from there we write in our equation. Y equals -1/3. We're putting plus or minus 0. Yeah, so you wouldn't write anything. Don't write no plus or minus 0. We might mark you wrong for that. Yeah. Because you're just not supposed to write that. Alright, so y'all good on that? Now here, last thing I need to show you before we be done with each other. determine whether the equations are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Remember those signs? We already talked about them, but those are signs of parallel and perpendicular, or neither. So to determine whether equations are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, all you need to do is identify slope.
Parallel.
All right. Can I teach my kids this?
Yeah, man. That's easy.
For you. They haven't done it yet with me. All right, number 12. Well, the first thing you need to make sure on each one of these two is that it's in slope-intercept form. So number 12. These both are in slope-intercept form. You got y equals and y equals, so we good. All you're doing is comparing slopes. Chris, on number 12, what's the slope on this first equation? Good. What's the slope on the second one? So what's your answer going to be? Parallel.
Did you just say? You heard Martin say parallel.
Yeah. 13. Reese. What's my slope in my first equation? They both in slope-intercept form, so we good. -3/2. Second equation, what's my slope? What's your... I ain't hear you. So I don't want some of y'all to be confused. You see they moved it to the back on this one, but whatever's by the x is your slope. Alright, and then you said what, Maurice? Perpendicular. So those are easy. We probably won't ask you that on the test. On the test, we'll ask you something like either number 15 or number 14. On the test, we'll ask you something like this because you got to do some work. Ain't just given to you. Number 14. That first equation is in slope-intercept form, but they give you a decimal for your slope. We can convert that to a fraction, and we're going to do that now. And then the second one, the problem is that's not in slope-intercept form. That's in standard form. You got to move that second equation to slope-intercept form. So in the first one, let's handle the fraction part first. Oh, Lord. Y'all in decimals and fractions. Here we go. All right. I'm going to ask you a simple question. Give me a simple answer. So I want to convert this to a fraction. To do it, first thing I need to figure out is what place this decimal is in. This decimal, 0.25, what place is that in? Shh. What place is the decimal in? That's my first question. Oh, Jesus. The 10th place, the 100th place, the 1000th place, the 10,000th. Y'all don't know? This came out like... No, you're wrong. Shh. Hey, man. I'm asking a serious question here. What place is the decimal in? 0.25. 100th place. The reason I'm asking you that, it tells you how to write your fraction for those who don't know. This one might be an easy fraction for y'all to figure out, but some of them won't be. So like most of y'all in here can't tell me what 0.4 is as a fraction. And so y'all need to know how to do this so you can convert. I know off the top of my head, but y'all don't know. Alright? So 0.25 may be an easy one, but it's one I'm going to need to show you. 0.25 is in the 100th place. It's important because you're going to write your fraction. I'm going to say -25 over 100. That's going to help me determine what my fraction is. Now I just need to reduce this to get to the fraction. Yeah, now this will be easy. Let me do another color, show you the reduction. Divide by 25 on top and bottom. My fraction will be -1 over 4. So my slope on my first line is going to be m equals -1 over 4. And so my equation of that line rewritten would be y equals -1 over 4x minus 5. Yeah. I'm going to show y'all some more tomorrow, but I want to start exposing you to this today. Pay attention. Because y'all ain't going to be able to convert like 0.4, 0.8, all that in your head. Alright. Next one. I got to get this in slope-intercept form. Y'all should know how to do this too. The Angelico should have tightened you up on this. To get this in slope-intercept form, I need to solve for y. Everything is moving away from y. You just solve it like you would an equation. It's just you're not gonna get no answer. You just rewrite the equation. First thing I need to do, move 2x to the other side. I'm moving the whole thing. When I move this to the other side, though, I'm not going to put it on the 56 because those are not like terms. I'm going to just stick it out here so you can understand that these terms do not go together. Cancels over here. This is a plus 8y, so it's positive 8y right here equals. Then when I get ready to rewrite this on this other side, you know slope-intercept form, the x part comes first. So I'm going to move this to the front. I'm going to make this negative 2x in front. And then that's positive 56, so I'm going to say plus 56. And then the last thing I need to do, solving for y, I need to divide by 8. On this side, what gets divided by 8? Huh? Everything gets divided by 8 on this side. The whole thing gets hit. You can put one fraction bar, put 8 on it, but I like to separate. Everything gets hit but 8 on the other side. Cancels here, y equals, and then you simplify on this side. Negative 2 over 8, what does that simplify down to? Negative 1/4 x, and then 56 divided by 8 plus 7. This is my other equation. Now that you got the equations in slope-intercept form, give me my answer. Parallel. Number 15, both of them are in standard form. Solve for y on both of those. I ain't doing that one for you. I want to know your answer at the end too. I'm interested. I need to know your answer at the end. If you're confused, you should be. Exactly.
Yeah.
I extended y'all time on that clear, so I lost a little bit of the class time for y'all as far as work. I hate how I did that, but it is what it is. Don't stop until you answer that question. I need to know what 15 is. I need you to see that.